Thank you. Okay, so 20 years old, and my proudest achievement is that I have managed to get through the whole year without having any vermin in my apartment. There were 6 of us living in a 3-bedroom student apartment. We all had our own bedroom. 3 of those bedrooms were just the closet, and one of them was the living room, which is 6 heavy smokers we also all used as a living room. It was truly disgusting, but we somehow managed to get to the end of the year, and we hadn't had to call out anyone for any rats or any cockroaches, so we felt good about ourselves. Pretty much everyone had moved out. 4 of the flatmates had, and there was just me and my friend Kat left. The night before, our roommate Amanda had moved out, and her parents pretty much move things for a living. They import gifts from Indonesia. So they brought these heavy duty crates, it was really impressive. Kat and I had boxes that we found out the back of the supermarket, but because we live in Edinburgh in Scotland where it just perpetually rains, they were all soggy and falling apart. And so we're just packing, it's chaos everywhere, we're so tired. And it gets to 11 o'clock and I'm like, you know what, dude, let's just take a break, let's just sit and watch TV. And this was the late 90s, so this was actually TV. We didn't get to choose what was on, but we decided we're just going to sit and watch. And so we, poured ourselves a drink and sat down, and we're sitting there. And then Kat turns to me, and she's using this very calm voice that's like, when someone's using a calm voice, but they're not actually calm. It's that they're so frightened that they have moved all the way through fear back into being calm again. And she says, Marsha, there's a snake on the floor. Now, Kat is a very, very chill person, except for the fact that she has this totally irrational fear of snakes. And we live in Edinburgh in Scotland. If there are snakes there, then maybe they're little garter snakes and they do not live in apartments. But I look over to where she's pointing to humor her, and I see the snake disappear under the couch. It's maybe 1.5 feet long, black with yellow stripes, about this wide. And so we do what any 2 self-respecting feminists would do. We stand up on high bits of furniture and go, there's a snake, before calling all the boys we know. And none of them are there because it's the end of term and they've all gone home. And this is before the days of anyone having a cell phone. And so we call the RSPCA, which is, I think in Ontario, they call it the OSPCA. It's the Royal Society for the Protection of Cruelty to Animals, but it's who you call when you find a wild animal. And they say, oh yeah, we don't do snakes because they might bite our staff and we're not allowed to kill them. But you should check under the floorboard because there's probably babies under there. And so we say, well, what do we do? And they say, call pest control. So we pick up the yellow pages and we start leafing through pest control. So we're ringing, and by this point it's midnight, and so no one is answering their phone. And eventually I get through to someone, the sleepy voice says, hello. And I say, hi, is that Stevie's pest control? And he goes, hi, this is Stevie, what's the problem? And I say, well, would you be able to come to East Preston Street in Edinburgh? And he's like, aye, what is it you need it for? And I say, we've got a snake. And he goes, oh, I didn't do snakes, and hangs up the phone on me. So we start ringing more and more, and they all either aren't answering or they didn't do snakes either. And eventually, Kat's now on the phone. She gets through to this guy. So she's talking to him. She's like, okay. And she says to me, Marsha, what does it look like? Can you describe it? So she stood up on the couch. I'm stood up on an armchair looking down at this snake. And I say, well, it's I don't know, 1.5 feet long, about a couple of inches wide. It's black with yellow stripes. And she goes, does it have a flat diamond-shaped head? And I'm like, oh yeah, it does. And she goes, okay, Marsha, come here. And then she hangs up the phone. She goes, come here. And she takes me outside the room, closes the door, puts a towel across the inch at the bottom, and then turns to me. And in that same very calm voice, she says, so he tells me that it's a crite from Indonesia. It's poisonous and it could kill us with one bite. So she also tells me that he says it's going to be £75, which in Canadian dollars, if you account for inflation and the exchange rate, And the fact that we were students with no money is like $25,000. But luckily, I have a very good overdraft, and she's been saving money for charity, for traveling rather. And so I give her my ATM card, and she leaves for the longest 15 minutes of my entire life while I just sit staring at the towel. And eventually she comes back. And then at that point, the door knocks and the guy is there. So we open the door and he's this like tall English guy wearing a kind of like a knapsack made out of heavy duty plastic. And in his hand, he has one of those things that you use, you know, those things to pick up garbage where like you have a grabber at one end and it has a pincer at the other. And he walks in and goes, "So snake then, is it?" And says, "Where can I find this offending creature?" And so we walk him down the corridor and we open the living room door and we go in, and he says, "Well, where did you last see it?" And we point up the couch, and he starts hitting the couch with the garbage picker upper, and the snake slithers out and he picks it up and it bites the corner of the coffee table with its fangs. And so he picks it up and pins it to the coffee table, and he turns to us and he says, "Have you got a knife?" And we say, "Well, we packed the knives and we don't know which box they're in." And he says, "Well, have you got a hammer?" And we're students in the late 90s. So I say, "Well, I have this wrought iron candlestick." And so he says, "That'll do." And I pass it to him and he lifts it above his head. And Kat and I go, "No," because, you know, we're vegetarians. And he looks at us and we realize that it's a toss up between the snake's life and our lives. And we pick our lives. And so we give him the nod and he goes, "Wham, wham," and then stands back. We're all looking at the snake, and then it starts slithering across the coffee table, and so he grabs it again and just starts whamming it in the middle so hard that it's essentially just completely flat and definitely dead. And then he sits down on the couch and just starts violently shaking, and it's very clear that his calmness was like the thing that he did to get through, and now the adrenaline is kicking in. And so Kat runs to the kitchen and grabs the bottle of vodka and pours each of us a shot, and we do it, and then we calm down, and he lifts up the flap of his knapsack and he lifts up his garbage picker upper and he picks up the snake and puts it in and says, "That'll come in handy. I've got a client who hasn't paid me recently. I think I might come and put that round their letterbox." So we pay him and he leaves. And at this point, our phone rings and it's our friend Dan. And he says, "Oh my God, I just got home. I've got your message. Are you okay?" And we're like, "Yeah, but can we come and sleep at your house, please? There might be babies under the floorboards." And he says, "Yes, but everyone else has left. So you have to bring your own bedding." And we say, "That's fine." And so the two of us each pick up a duvet and wrap ourselves up and walk through the streets of Edinburgh like the two saddest little sheep, get to Dan's house and go to sleep. Thank you.